You're watching News 24 Live, and I'm Jerusha Sukhthia-Rath. Now, for the last few days, the entire country is talking about COSATU General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi, and of course the decision that was made by a Central Executive Committee to dismiss him. Now, the question everybody's been asking is, was that an unfair dismissal? Well, speaking earlier today, Vavi indicated that he certainly believes that he was unfairly dismissed, and he said that he was looking at his options, seeing what if he should take legal advice and deciding what he's going to do. So I'm joined in studio by Labour analyst Terry Bell, and Terry is going to answer the million-dollar question for us. Terry, was he unfairly dismissed?
I don't think it's a question of unfairly. The point is that the Central Executive Committee has the authority to expel, suspend or dismiss an official or an affiliate, but it cannot be final until it goes before a national congress. Now, this is the issue that's been bubbling on for nearly 2 years now, with the demand for a special national congress over the whole issue of NUMSA, which ended up finally getting expelled. And they've been kept calling for a national congress to sort these matters out. And what Vavi has done, I think quite shrewdly from a political viewpoint, he said we want to return the power within COSATU to the members where it belongs democratically, and not, as he called it, in small boardrooms. And that's what's actually happened. So his dismissal cannot be ruled to be final until it's before the full delegation, every delegation from every affiliate at a national congress.
Could this be a move then to have that national congress? Could this be a move for it actually to happen? Because we've been waiting for it for a while.
Well, for nearly 2 years.
Right.
But the point is that now, Sadu Dlamini, actually yesterday, the president of COSATU, said that there would be a special national congress in June and then a national congress in September. But having said last year that they didn't have the money for a special national congress, and we know that COSATU has, well, they're not bankrupt, but they certainly are suffering financial strain. I can't imagine why on earth they plan to have a congress in June and another one in September. So I think these are games being played.
Well, according to Vavi, they're leeching at least 300,000 rand a month after NUMSA was expelled. But Terry, take us back. Why was Vavi expelled?
Well, Vavi was expelled finally, and they've been trying to make him jump for ages. Since 2012, when Vavi started becoming highly critical of President Jacob Zuma's administration, and therefore the links of COSATU with that administration, pointing out that at the last Congress, the 11th Congress of COSATU, they took a whole range of resolutions against labour brokers, e-tolling, etc. And nothing's happened. All that has happened is that once again, certain leaders of the trade union movement, COSATU, have moved into government. The classic being, of course, Sinzeni Zokwana, the president of the National Union of Mine Workers, who sort of stepped from there straight into being Minister of Agriculture. The man who paid his workers 60 rand a day, incidentally, but that's beside the point. So the thing is, Vavi started being critical, and NUMSA was highly critical. So eventually they pushed in the hope that NUMSA would walk, and they kept saying they're going to start their own workers' party, they're going to leave COSATU. They've refused. And that's part of the game, to win the heart and soul, if you like, of COSATU. So the NUMSA Vavi axis, if you want to call it that, are saying, let's go to a Congress, let's make decisions, but let the workers make the decisions, not the executive. And they can go back to 1993, where NUMSA actually tabled a resolution saying, look, ANC is about to become government. Once they're in the government, they become the biggest employer in the land. How can we as trade unionists be involved with the biggest employer? They took it to the Congress, they lost. And so they said, right, we're Democrats, we'll go along with the majority. I suspect if, and it's a big if, they do get this matter to Congress with NUMSA there, Vavi there, etc., no matter who wins or who loses, they'll split. I think that's almost inevitable.
Now, Terry, what happens in the meantime? Because as you've told us, this decision can only be ratified in a national congress. Does that mean that technically Zwelinzima Vavi still remains the Secretary General of COSATU? Is he a suspended Secretary General? What happens?
Well, he's General Secretary.
Sorry, General Secretary.
No, he is suspended, and he remains suspended, as indeed does NUMSA. In the case of Vavi, actually it helps them because they don't have to pay his salary. In the case of NUMSA, they're losing probably more than R1 million a month in terms of subscriptions, because NUMSA now says they have about 340,000 members. I don't know, but they certainly have more than 300,000. And if you work out at 1% of workers' wages go into subscriptions, and then part of that goes into COSATU, it's an awful lot of money. And I suspect that they have been raiding the political fund to try and pay salaries. So COSATU faces a rather straitened financial situation.
Now, we've spoken a little bit about the seeming disparity between the executive and the actual workers on the ground. And we know that this decision was made on a vote of 30-1. 30 members of the executive voted in favor of Vavi's dismissal, just one wanting the poor man to stay. Are we going to see any type of struggle between people on the ground and this executive? Are the executives speaking on behalf of the union?
Well, the point we must never forget is that executive did not include 7 affiliates who did not send delegates to the executive.
Right.
So all you had was the anti-NUMSA, anti-Vavi faction there. And this is one of the arguments that I have heard coming up, saying that what will happen is the majority on the executive are going to say, we'll have a special Congress, but because we've expelled NUMSA, because we have suspended or dismissed Vavi, and any of the other unions, the 7 unions that have supported them, if they do not apologize and come forward and say, you know, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, or whatever, they're out as well. It'll be a farce, because then all you have is one faction in what is two factions that are split right down the middle. There are all sorts of other little agendas at play too, but that's the primary thing. It's between those who are for a continuation of affiliation to the ANC and those who say not that you break with the ANC, but that it should be up to individual unions and their members to decide, which is the reality. You cannot tell me that all the members of the COSATU unions all vote for the ANC. Of course they don't. But it's up to the majority of each union to decide. And for example, it's not a requirement in policy or principle of COSATU. SASBO, which is the finance union which is affiliated to COSATU, actually has as part of its constitution the fact that it may not be party politically aligned. Also, the main reason, of course, saying of NUMSA has been poaching members. You know, until very recently, COSATU had 3 unions organizing nurses. One of them now has dropped out by the wayside, and I think that was financial. But you still have NIHAWU, National Education, Health and Allied Workers, and DENOSA, the Democratic Organization of Nurses, who both organize nurses. Since 1985, NUMSA has had members in the mining sector, as indeed where NUM is the majority. So it's a nonsense to say that that's the reason that NUMSA had to be expelled.
So Terry, the bottom line is that we're not actually close to any type of resolution, and we need to keep our eyes peeled for that special national conference.
Well, one would hope so, but what we're actually seeing, I think, is a sort of slow motion implosion that has been building ever since 1985 when COSATU was first formed. These arguments simmered. Every so often they sort of erupt, but I think we've finally reached the real eruption.
So a long time coming then?
A very long time coming, and we're now reaching, I think, the end.
Well, Terry, I suspect I'm going to be speaking to you a lot more in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.